on the Cambridge Ball State Cardinals Sports Network. From Learfield, welcome to the Varsity House Birdfeed on the Ball State Cambridge Network. Here is your host, Joel Godett.
All right, we are back at it here inside the LA Pittenger Student Center. It is the Birdfeed Live coming your way from Muncie, Indiana for week 4 of the Ball State football season. Joel Godett, head football coach Mike Neu, and Bryce Cosby alongside as well. Guys, they can hear us out there, so we can't hear ourselves greatly here as we go through this, but we'll navigate over the course of the next half hour as the Cardinals bounce back after a loss on the road at Wyoming this past weekend. Mike, I will start with you. What's your approach, and what is the way that you attack a week like this coming off of what was not a day that went the way that you wanted it to?
Yeah, well, let's make an agreement here first. Let's not meet under these circumstances anymore. Let's only meet after a win.
I'm good with that, yeah.
My confidence hasn't wavered. Yes, it was a disappointing performance on the road. You know, Wyoming's a good football team, but you know, we didn't execute. You know, we lost the turnover battle. We didn't get off to a fast start. Those are things that I felt were important for us to get off to a good start, to have some production, to have some momentum early in the football game. We didn't get that done. I feel like guys are probably pressing a little bit too much. So we need to make sure that, you know, we get back to the practice field. We got our first conference opponent in Toledo coming in here. We're back at home again at Schumann Stadium. We're really looking forward to that. But my confidence hasn't wavered. I know our team still believes, but you know, each one of us has to do a better job on our end of looking ourselves in the mirror and making sure we're bringing our best stuff each and every day.
Bryce, evaluate this just from a pressure standpoint. I don't mean that externally. I mean it more from an internal standpoint. Mm-hmm. People, I feel like, will say when things don't go the way you want and you have a certain expectation level, sometimes you start to press yourself because you feel the need to meet it. And the harder you press, the more difficult things become.
All right.
What's the way that you attack this week? Because I imagine for you, you want to say, like, all right, let's get down to business, let's focus, let's be serious, but you don't want to be so serious that it gets in the way of you being able to do what you need to do.
Right. Well, you know, I consider myself a process-oriented person and not a results-oriented person. So, you know, regardless of what our record was right now, whether that be, you know, 3-0, 0-3, you know, I would still stick to the same process. And trust and believe that, you know, my process is eventually going to prevail. And, you know, I try to ooze that off into our team, you know, specifically the defense. And, you know, like I said, our whole team, you know, like Coach Neu said, our confidence hasn't wavered. We're in a tough stretch right now, but this is, you know, like all sports, this is a game of momentum. And, you know, while the momentum isn't on our side right now, and in a matter of a week, that can all change. And, you know, I'm a firm believer in that. And, you know, the biggest focus for me and the team right now is just to get to 1-0. And I feel like if we can accomplish that, then the ball will get rolling, you know.
Mike, do you do anything differently this week to help deliver that message? Like, we joked leaving the game on the bus on Saturday night. It's like, as much as you want to get back to the nitty-gritty, maybe the best thing you can do on Tuesday is, like, roll out a slip and slide and say, guys, let's just go have fun. Make this fun and don't press too much because you know what you're capable of.
Yeah, well, you know, I had an opportunity to see that yesterday with my own eyes. We got back late in the morning. You know, I'm sure by the time the guys took the bus from the airport back to campus, it was 1:30, 2 o'clock. Who knows, before they got a chance to put their head on the pillow. But we came in yesterday and we watched the film, and each side of the ball had a workout in the weight room, and I saw everything I needed to see in the weight room with guys having fun, the intensity level, the effort, the work ethic, the attention to detail. All those things were on display yesterday. You know, after getting back in the wee hours of the morning, the mental toughness that it took to suck it up, if you will, and to go get a great workout in that was productive, where guys were having fun, moving around the weight room, taking care of business. I saw that yesterday with my own eyes. So I saw everything I needed to see. We just got to get back to work, and everybody's going to have an opinion. We need to play loose. We're too tight. We're not having fun. I understand that. You know, that's part of the business that we're in. But, you know, we're just like Bryce said, we got a process here. We play against Toledo. We know them well. We got 3 game films on them where we can study them. We can put a game plan together, and once we get a chance to get on the practice field tomorrow, having fun is when you fly around the field, you're having fun with each other, and you get to take a break for a second from the books, and you get to go, you know, have fun doing something that you've worked your whole life to do.
Bryce, how do you make sure that you're still having fun?
I mean, you know, I love the game of football, and so, you know, just being able to practice, watch film, go through our weekly process, and then, play on game day. That's fun within itself to me. Obviously what we want to get wins, obviously, but, I'll never let adversity take my love for the game. That's a part of it. You got to take the good with the bad, and there's beauty in both. And so this will be a great story. We turn around and start getting this ball rolling, and we're having a different conversation in December. We'll look back on this and be proud of this moment that we were able to overcome it. And so I look at it like this just makes for a better ending, in my opinion. Obviously we got to put the work in. We got to do what's necessary to get to that point, but I'll never let adversity or a hard time take my love for something that I've been doing for such a long time.
It is the Cardinals in Toledo coming up this Saturday. They are back home inside Schumann Stadium. That is a 2 o'clock kickoff, so ample time to get out and tailgate outside Schumann Stadium, inside the tailgate lot, and then come on inside the gates at 2 o'clock as the Cardinals open up their Mid-American Conference schedule with preseason prognostication-wise the most difficult matchup. It's kind of like when the schedule makers sat down and said, how do we give people bang for their buck to open up the season? That's the one they picked, the Cardinals in Toledo to open up MAC play Saturday at 2. Before we get into the Rockets, though, I do want to look back. I don't want to dwell on it a ton, but when you reflect back on what happened this past weekend in Wyoming, what strikes you, Mike? First and foremost, you watched that game film on the flight. What went wrong?
Well, just really, I look back at it and I said, okay, things that I saw on tape that I know are not characteristic of this football team. Some of the mistakes, some of the energy, some of the things that were self-inflicted wounds that I know was uncharacteristic of our football team. So obviously then that leads to the next part of the conversation with your staff. Okay, are we pressing? What are we not taking from the practice field to the game? Because felt strongly about the week of practice that we had last week, like what I saw on the field. So, what do we got to do to make sure that we're doing our part to get it to show up on the game film? Because, you can't lose the turnover battle like that on the road against a good football team that's done a good job of defending their home turf. You can't do that. And then, obviously some of the plays that were out there to be made when we don't make those, certainly those are things that, once you add those all up at the end of a ball game, it's tough when those things take place. So we need to take a deep breath. Again, my confidence hasn't wavered. Life's full of challenges. The game of football is full of challenges. We'll respond. And we're in the Student Center right now, and I want to make my plea to all the students in here how much of a difference they made for us opening night, in that win we had against Western Illinois, and they make a big difference. And I know we look forward to seeing them, and hopefully they find time in their schedule to be out there on Saturday afternoon.
Bryce, how big a deal was that student section week one, and how much of a big deal is it heading into Saturday?
It was a huge deal. Coach Neu just touched on it. We definitely felt their energy all night. It's something that we feed off of, and as players, we appreciate. It feels good to know that you got your school behind you. When you're taking that field and you're about to go into battle and play those 4 quarters. So especially with it being family weekend this weekend, I would just encourage even more students to come out than they did that Thursday night a couple weeks ago. And, like I said, just make the shoe as lively as possible. We all appreciate it, and we definitely feed off their energy.
It is Bryce Cosby. It's Mike Neu. It's the Ball State Cardinals and Toledo Rockets on Saturday at Schumann Stadium. Bryce, from your standpoint, Coach talked about the turnover battle, most notably on the offensive side Saturday. But if you look inside the statistics defensively, you guys haven't forced one the last 2 weeks. And that is a complete statistical anomaly over like the last 4 seasons for you guys. Off the top of my head, I think it's the third and fourth time in the last 23 games that you guys had a negative turnover margin, which speaks to how well you take care of the ball and how much you guys have been ball hawks. How do you get back to causing turnovers, creating quick changes, and creating quick momentum that way?
Well, yeah, I think it's all a mentality. We've got to be hungry as a defense and look for that not look for that big play, but be ready to make the play when it's time to be made. I think a lot of that will help. We got to get people to third down as well. We got to win the early down so we can kind of mix it up and have fun on third down, with a mixture of, however we want to attack pressures, man zone, however we want to attack. But, if we can get people uncomfortable, get them in some less than ideal situations, I think that can lead to some bad decision making, and it leads to the offense pressing with the need to make a play. But like I said, that starts with the early downs, first, second down. And if we take care of our business early, that's when we can, have fun, and then, let Coach Stock do what he does. And so, like I said, it's a mentality. We got to make offenses as uncomfortable as possible, and we got to win early down so we can get in favorable positions for the defense to make some big plays.
Is third down fun?
Third down is really fun. I mean, you can feel it in the air when you're on defense because we're one play away of getting off the field and getting our offense back on the field, and so it really feels like you're almost at the finish line for that drive, and I think as a defense you kind of get a boost knowing we just need to make one more play to get off the field and get our offense the ball back. So third down is definitely exciting.
Mike, your eyes lit up a little bit when I said is third down fun?
Well, that's the money down. You spend so much time with your preparation, breaking down film. What's their package on third down? What do you expect to see on third down? So that's, it's a lot of fun. That's one of the biggest moves in the chess match, if you will, that takes place throughout the day. But that's a lot of fun, and that's the money down. And you ultimately either continue the drive or you're off the field. And so that's why you love it so much, because it is certainly the biggest challenge, if you will, throughout the course of the game when you get to third down.
What in your eyes is missing in terms of being able to create and cause turnovers right now?
Oh, sometimes turnovers come in bunches. It's an inch here, it's an inch there. It's it'll happen. Our guys, like Bryce said, sometimes obviously you got to get them to a situation where you create an uncomfortable feeling for the offense there, and then all of a sudden they start pressing, or he tries to force a throw, or whatever it may be, and then all of a sudden turnovers come in bunches, whether it's a sack, whether it's a forced fumble, whether it's an interception, whatever it may be. But you know how it is. We're going to play the game. We're going to play it. We're going to keep competing, and a lot of times those turnovers happen in bunches.
It's Mike Neu. It's Bryce Cosby. Ball State football home taking on Toledo on Saturday at 2 o'clock as we continue here on the Birdfeed Live from the LA Pittenger Student Center. Mike, I do want to talk about offense, though, on Saturday. Most notably, just from a box score sense, you played two quarterbacks. We said on the air afterward, we imagine you go back to Drew this week because you won a championship with that guy and he's your guy. What did switching him out at halftime do, you think, for him, first and foremost?
Well, I think, first of all, he's probably pressing a little bit too much. He's trying to force the issue, trying to make something happen. And, a lot of times when you do that and that's your mindset, and everything, even though the game didn't start the way we wanted it to in terms of execution, it was still 3-0. And we were playing with a little bit of tempo. We just had a run play with tempo that got a nice little gain there, 4 or 5 yards. And then, the overhang player was buzzing to the flat, and he got underneath the hitch route right there. And so trying to make something happen when really it was a 5-man box that would really stack up well as far as running the football. And so just trying to do too much and, really just taking a step back there and going into the second half and seeing if John could come in and provide a spark. And obviously Drew take a step back for a second and say, hey, I need to dial it back. I need to just go back to focus one play at a time. And if I do that and do it with the right kind of mindset, then we can stack some successes here, and then we'll lead to scoring drives.
Did you ever in your career as a player get benched, so to speak, for a quarter or a half?
Absolutely. Going into my senior year, obviously the plan was for me to get beat out by a younger player. And
was it really?
So, oh, yeah.
Well, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
And then you went and won MAC Player of the Year.
I refused for that to happen. And deservedly so, though, because, I started as a freshman and things were positive. And then for the next couple of years, I didn't play as well as I should have played and needed to play. So going into my senior year, that was the case, and then wasn't going to let that happen.
What did it do for you? Like, describe how the fire got ignited, or maybe that's not the right phrasing for it, because describe the way that it helped you maybe take a step back and see things more clearly.
Well, it brings out the competitor in you. How when the going gets tough, the tough get going, and when somebody's, giving you the ultimate wake-up call and telling you that, hey, man, you're not playing well enough, and if you don't get that reversed and you don't start to play better, then ultimately you're going to lose your job. And so it brings out the competitor in you. And, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. That's the best way to say it. And you find out a lot about yourself, and you find out what you're made of.
What'd you like about John coming in the second half?
I think John's just, he's competing and he's playing the play, and he's got a lot of intensity about him. He's a guy that is the ultimate competitor. You know, he's been told probably pretty much his whole life that he's too short and can't play quarterback at the Division I level. And so, to his credit, he's worked extremely hard, and I know he's ready. He's ready, and certainly he handled it the right way this year when the NCAA granted seniors an opportunity to come back, and was proud of the way he handled that, because I know how bad that he wants to have an opportunity to play. But he's done a good job of staying ready and working hard in the meeting room, and I thought he's put some nice things out there on the film, and certainly things that he can continue to work on.
And Bryce, as we all know, short people don't get to play Division I football, right?
Right.
How many times have you heard that you were too short to play Division I football?
Oh, man, a lot. I mean, honestly, in high school, I didn't even realize I was quote-unquote short till college coaches started coming to school. I never even let that cross my mind until, college coaches started.
You were like, I am the average height of the American male. Stop telling me I'm short.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I didn't even realize it, but, soon coaches started coming in, and mainly the bigger schools, they were kind of saying, hey, we're looking for a guy that's 6 foot or whatnot, but, it all worked out.
I would say so. Just walk back in with your hand in the ring, kind of like brushing by your cheek. Mike, let's talk about guys with height, though, on the offensive side. You've got 3 wide receivers that have that NFL prototypical body in Jalen McGoy, Johannes Tyler, Karate Brenson. Haven't been able to get them involved as much as you'd like to, although Ja'Shawn Jackson, Justin Hall certainly had themselves, particularly Ja'Shawn, a really good day on Saturday. How do you get those outside, bigger guys more involved in what you're doing? Yeah,
it's, obviously we've been challenged with some one-on-one matchups. We've faced our fair share of man-to-man coverage throughout the first 3 weeks, and that will continue. And so, obviously, we got to win those matchups. When we do have the opportunity, we got to try to figure out a way here in practice to grow our confidence and get into a competitive situation in practice where we can challenge those guys. And then, obviously, we got to get that, you got to be able to put it out there on the practice field first and foremost before you expect it to show up on game day. So a little bit of a slow start, obviously, to the season right now, but believe in those guys. Obviously, with Johannes, had a lot of good football here. Karate's done a great job as a young player so far, and then Jalen. Jalen, we got to get Jalen going here because he provided a huge spark to us down the stretch last year, especially with the Central game, especially in the MAC championship game. So. No need to push the panic button, but obviously these guys, each one, too, has to look in the mirror and know that they also have to step up.
Real quick, one more thing on the Drew question I want to go back to for you, Bryce. You guys are obviously very close. You've been here throughout the entire time. You guys are team leaders together. Mm-hmm. Have you guys talked at all over the last couple of days? And secondly, what does it say to you when, like, the thing that Coach Spizak said on the radio is, when something like that happens, it sends the message that no one is untouchable, because usually the quarterback is the untouchable guy. Does something like that affect everybody else on the team, even though it's only one guy?
No, I mean, I have the utmost confidence in Drew. Like you said, he's been here since I've been here, so I've seen him grow every year, and like I said, adversity is a thing, and this isn't just a Drew thing, as a team. We've lost 2 games.
Right.
It's not pointing at anybody.
Right.
This is a collective effort. So this isn't. We're not pointing the finger at anybody. As a team, we've got to be better, and that's the first and the most important thing. But as far as me and Drew talking, no, not really. I mean, like I said, I have the utmost confidence in Drew. I know he's going to get back to work and try to put this team in the best position possible. And so as a team, I don't think it really affects anything. Like I said, our main focus is just trying to get to 1-0 this week, and then that's the main focus at hand. And it's just getting back to our process and doing what's necessary.
Last question on Wyoming. This probably goes over differently if the outcome of the game was different, but it has nothing to do with the game itself. I'm just curious because I worked out when we were up in the elevator. Like it wasn't even the 7,000 feet. I worked out in the 5,000 feet at our hotel in Colorado. And I was gasping for air at the end of it. That might be more of a testimony to my level of fitness than anything else. But what was playing at 7,000 feet, Bryce, like for you? Did you feel the air thinner, or was there anything different that everybody talks about?
Maybe a slight, it wasn't nothing crazy. The only thing I really noticed was that my mouth would get a little dry quicker. But
Chapstick.
as far as just me just gasping for air, I didn't really notice a difference. Going into the game, I just told the guys, we knew what we were getting ourselves into. So mentally, I was just trying to get into a place where, that was the least of my concern.
Sure.
I'm not really trying to think about the elevation or whatever comes with the game going into the game. The only thing I try to focus on is the game plan and what we need to do to win. So, I was actually frustrating to me to keep hearing about it. I was like, I wanted to look at it like it was nonsense. But, my mouth would get dry. But as far as just a win standpoint, I felt pretty fine the whole game.
And if nobody talks to you about it, they make sure to tell you about it. Every piece of signage in the stadium said 7220 on it. Mike, it didn't bother your. Did you do an elliptical morning workout on Saturday?
No, I refuse to let. I would refuse to let that bother me, and if it did, I wouldn't tell anybody.
Fair enough. So I'll take that as a yes. Yeah.
Take it however you want.
Right. It is the Cardinals and Toledo. That's next up on the docket, though. That is Saturday inside Schumann Stadium. It is the Mid-American Conference opener. We'll dive into Toledo here in depth a little bit in a second. But before we go to break, I want to ask Mike you one question about the Rockets, and that's because you guys, we all were on the plane on Saturday, and as a matter of fact on Friday, shared the tarmac with Colorado State, who flew to go play Toledo, and won at the Glass Bowl. Alex Bailey, your former assistant, is now on staff at Colorado State. I have to imagine you two, I know you know Toledo. You play them every year. I have to imagine you two have had a phone call or two since Saturday, no?
Well, of course, our staff, especially the offensive guys, had a chance to interact with Coach Bailey, and just from his perspective, obviously playing against him, tell us what you saw. Was there anything, just from a tip standpoint, anything from a game plan standpoint that, or was it simply, when you showed up, you knew, was it exactly what you expected? And so, a lot of these guys that are on this Toledo football team, they return a lot of guys as well, almost every guy. And
most of the country, yeah.
We've seen these guys. We've competed against these guys. So it won't be something just from a personnel standpoint. Okay, what's he all about? I've had a chance to line up against him for a couple years here now. What are the adjustments or what things does the film show from a scheme standpoint? You look into those things, game planning, but, obviously as much information we can get, whether it's from Coach Bailey or anybody, certainly you take advantage of all those things.
We'll talk about the Toledo Rockets when we come back on the other side of this timeout. This is the Birdfeed live from the LA Pittenger Student Center. Every week on YouTube, on demand, on the Chirp Cast podcast feed as well, and on the the ISC Sports Network.
You paid how much for those lessons?
Shh, she's doing great.
Oh, yeah, totally. Can you pass me a Pepsi Zero Sugar? Great job, honey! Oh, look at that. That's not the end.
No way. Now it's time for the encore.
You know what? You're right. 5 times? Not enough times.
For everyone who traded in rock concerts for their kids' recitals, you've compromised enough. Pepsi Zero Sugar. That's what I like.
While new vehicles may be harder to come by recently, Stoops Automotive has stocked their inventory with plenty of new-to-you vehicles to help you find the perfect ride. Cars, trucks, SUVs, all quality pre-owned at drive-home prices. And Stoops Automotive has an amazing staff to help you find exactly what you're looking for. Stoops Automotive, East Central Indiana's used car headquarters for over 30 years.
Visit them today on West Clare Lane in Muncie or at stoopsauto.com.
Stoops, we're driven to be the best.
See dealer for details. Imagine a commercial construction company that approaches every project as if it was their own property. Imagine one that makes decisions based on the core values as much as the bottom line. And imagine one that takes immense pride in both the projects and relationships it builds. It exists, and it's called Pridemark Construction. Pridemark Construction is a full-service commercial construction company backed by decades of industry experience with the capacity to complete both large and small projects that exceed client expectations. Proud of Ball State Athletics and proud of Ball State University.
This is the Birdfeed Live coming to you from the LA Pittenger Student Center here on campus at Ball State University. Every Monday at noon-ish throughout the course of the Ball State football season, we'll recap the week that was and look forward to the week that is for the Cardinals. This week it's 2 o'clock inside Schumann Stadium. Ball State will play host to Toledo in its Mid-American Conference opener. Head coach Mike Neu continues to join us, Bryce Cosby as well. Bryce, when you take a look at Toledo's most recent game, they lose to Colorado State in what was a thrilling offensive contest. I think it was 7 field goals and a punt return for a touchdown were all of the points in that game. If you've had a chance to dive into Toledo film, what stands out to you, or just your general feelings on having played Toledo as many times as you have about the style of team you're up against?
Oh yeah, they're I've had the chance to watch them. They're a very dynamic offense. I think, like you said, having played against Toledo the past 4 years, that's been a reoccurring theme for them. They're very dynamic in what they like to do. Getting the ball on the perimeter, getting the ball into their playmakers' hands. They're a balanced offense. With the good balance of run and pass. They try to mix in. They try to mix in explosive plays here and there. So really, it's just another challenge for us this week. Like I said, we've got our hands full. We know Toledo is always a very formidable opponent in our conference. They've sustained a good amount of success these past couple of years. So we have much respect for what they do over there, and we're looking forward to this challenge.
Mike, I'm looking at the statistics in front of us, and I've got 11th in the Mid-American Conference in passing. No, in rushing. That's right. 11th in rushing. That doesn't jive with what you expect from Toledo. And Brian Koback is one of the best running backs in this league. I think he only had 32 yards against Colorado State this past week. What have teams done to bottle him up, and how do you replicate that?
Well, obviously you pay attention to him first and foremost because, he's been a very productive runner for a long period of time at Toledo, and obviously struggled to get untracked last week. That's a credit to Colorado State for their game plan and the execution of their game plan. But there's no doubt they're going to obviously try to establish a run. That's something that's important to them because that certainly will make everything else go, and to be able to get some of their playmakers involved down the field. That's a big part of it. So, we're expecting a heavy dose of Bryant Koback again, just like we would have expected a heavy dose of him a year ago and the year before that. And so, but that's, Toledo, just like Bryce said, they got a very balanced attack. They obviously have had guys that have been very productive as runners. They've obviously like to throw the ball, and there's been a good balance that way. So, obviously, we've got 3 game films on now. As you can say what you want about the Colorado State game, and maybe things didn't go according to plan, but they played extremely well against Notre Dame.
Yep.
Who's obviously one of the top teams in the country, and obviously had a big win to open the season against Norfolk State. So it's Toledo. It's Ball State versus Toledo. It's game number 1 of the MAC. Both teams are 0-0. So we're both preparing to make sure that we have our best stuff on game day.
Every time I feel like there is a different type of quarterback, the immediate question is, well, how do you attack this guy? How is he different? I feel like there is some sort of formula, though, for, hey, there's a running quarterback. Regardless of who he is, no disrespect to DeQuan Finn, regardless of who that person is, this is how you attack a multifaceted, dual-threat quarterback. Is that the case this week going into it, or what's specific to how they utilize DeQuan Finn as kind of a second quarterback running option is unique that you guys need to be ready for?
Yeah, as you stated, they've shown that they'll play 2 different quarterbacks on film. I think the most important thing is just being conscious of who's in the game. It sounds simple, but, bullets get to flying in the game. You're not all the way honed in, and, you don't even realize there's been a quarterback change. So, the biggest thing is being conscious of who's in the game, and then after that, you gotta know the strengths and weaknesses of both. With number 7, obviously they're trying to get him, more zone read, things of that nature, maybe sprint outs, things of that nature, so he can, possibly stretch plays out with his feet. And that's not to say that their other quarterback can't run as well. It's just, like I said, strengths and weaknesses. So, like I said, this is the biggest thing is just being conscious of who's on the field and, knowing what we need to do and hone in on for each guy.
Mike, how much was a turning point last year in the Toledo game? I feel like that was, from an outside perspective, the linchpin of where the season took off for you. Do you feel that way in hindsight?
Do I feel that way about this coming game?
About
about a
year's
year ago
matchup with Toledo.
Obviously that, based on the last time we had won on the road there at Toledo, and they're a good football team, and so certainly that was a big game. They were all big, though. When you play in this conference and you play in the MAC West, each and every game as a heavyweight bout. It's like a title fight, and you have to, defend your title week after week after week. And so, they were all big a year ago, and every week it just seemed to get bigger. So I don't know if there was one I would say was bigger than the other, but certainly winning on the road. And the last time we'd won, I think, was 2008 or 9 or whatever that was, or maybe, I forget, that was last year.
Election night 2012.
It was a long time ago. How about that? And so, but really, I know but just we're 0-0 just like they are in conference, and we're looking forward to having a great atmosphere and a big game here on Saturday.
Is that the only game, though, Bryce, where you've ever had an interception and you've waved goodbye to the other team?
Not sure. Just in the moment, how it goes.
How do you feel going into this, mindset-wise? I mean, we'll loop this back to kind of we'll finish where we started. You have to put last week behind you. You have to look ahead to this. Is it almost good that it's a conference opener because it gives you kind of a hard reset that the season matters and a week means something different than if it was just not that every game doesn't matter, but that it's not just rolling into another week, but it's rolling into a different kind of week?
Oh, no, absolutely. Going into this game, I feel hungry. Like I said, I don't like losing by any means. That's not me. I don't want to be associated with losing, and me being a leader and a senior on this team. I don't want to have that on my conscience when the days are gone. That a team that I was supposed to be the leader of, that I was supposed to kind of take charge and try to lead to a successful path, didn't pan out. So with me not wanting that on my conscience, I'm more hungry than ever right now. Like I said, I'm still gonna keep preparing like I do every week and try to do my best to ensure that my guys are ready. But in terms of this being our conference opener, I think as a team, it's crucial that we understand the severity of this game. Not even it just being a conference opener. These are some guys that are on our side of the division in the MAC West. So we know what's at stake. We know the goals that we discussed in the preseason that we wanted to accomplish, and we know that if that's what we want and that's what we truly say we want, this is something that needs to be taken care of. And so, I think everyone needs to realize the severity of this game in terms of just, we don't want to lose in conference, and if we want to do what we say we want to do, essentially, it starts this week.
Mike, that's probably all you needed to hear, isn't it?
Oh, that's it. My confidence hasn't wavered. I'm fired up to have a great week of preparation here. Today we're off the practice field. The players were off today. I know they're all doing their own thing as far as taking care of themselves with, the pool and yoga and getting a head start with the film. But I can't wait to have a great week of preparation here, and I believe in our team.
Bryce, what's your best yoga pose at this point?
My best what?
Best yoga? Like, are you a warrior guy? Like.
Oh, you talking about yoga? They've got us doing a lot of crazy poses in there. People get confused. Yoga is really a workout. It's not all, it's not the stereotypical yoga they're thinking of. You'll break a sweat in there for sure.
Got to get actually that might be entertaining if we filmed the offensive line during yoga.
Oh, they'll surprise you. They're sneaky athletic.
Well,
so.
yeah, actually, I don't doubt that. Mm-hmm. That is true. Mike, I know you have a special teams meeting to get to here in a couple of minutes, so we will wrap things up. I have one last final question tying into that, though. Complete non sequitur to Ball State football, but I learned something on Saturday night. I think a lot of us did. I just thought that when somebody punted the football and your team touched it, it was down. Apparently that's not the case because Memphis scored a touchdown on Saturday night. Does that happen in special teams meetings this week about defining exactly what downing a football is?
Anytime you can get some film to teach off of, because there's so many things that happen in special teams that you have to be prepared, and it might happen once every 5 years. So anything that you can teach off of that showed up from the weekend, you definitely grab it. Our video coordinator does a great job of being able to get whatever materials we can to make sure we can teach something that perhaps showed up, because you always have to be prepared. And it might not show up until 5 years later, but you always got to be prepared for that, and Coach Doherty does a great job with that.
On that note, Cardinals will be prepared. It is 2 o'clock Saturday inside Schumann Stadium. 1 o'clock is our coverage on the Gainbridge Cards radio network. You can catch the team and the game on ESPN Plus as well. Mike, appreciate the time. Bryce, appreciate the time. We're back here at the LA Pittenger Student Center next week for the Birdfeed Live to break it all down. Hopefully, a Ball State win to open up 2021 conference play.
This was the Varsity House Bird Feed on the Ball State Gamebridge Network.